Australia with Adlocate. Visit us on 10 February at the Hotel Galadari.
Very good evening and welcome to a brand new edition of Primetime News on TV1, coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Columbo. Today is the 5th of February 2024. For the Newsfirst team, I am Jana.
And I am Rochelle Gamoda. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
President calls for national unity to rebuild the country while inaugurating Urumaya. Anurakumara Desanayake on official visit to India meets External Affairs Minister and holds talks on Sri Lanka's economic challenges. TISL slams outrageous passage of Online Safety Act. People cannot celebrate freedom when fundamental rights are violated, says opposition leader.
කටවල් වලට මුඛවාඩම් දැමීම අද රජය විසින් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරලා තිබෙනවා. ඒක කොහොමද නිදහසක් වෙන්නේ?
Entire cabinet must be held responsible for the drug scam. National Civil Organisation Front stresses. Sri Lanka wins one-off test match against Afghanistan by 10 wickets.
Your top story tonight, President Ranil Wickremesinghe called for unity to uplift Sri Lanka's ailing economy.
The President made this rallying call while addressing the inauguration of the Urumaya National Programme.
Govi Urumaya Panakanbabu.
The Urumaya National Programme, launched to provide a solution to citizens who are without land rights, commenced in Dambulla today, headed by President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Many political figures, including ministers and MPs, were present at the occasion. Under the Urumaya National Programme, 10,000 deed holders of Ran Bhumi, Jai Bhumi and Swarna Bhumi will be provided Urumaya freehold deeds. 2 billion rupees were allocated for this programme through the 2024 budget.
රජයේ ඉඩම් ආඥාපනතින් සුද්දට ඉඩම් දුන්නා නම් සින්නක් කර අපේ එක ආයෝජකයන්ට අපි ඉඩම් දුන්නා නම් සින්නක් කර ඇයි අපේ ජනතාවට දෙන්න බැරි?
If freehold deeds were given to foreigners and investors under the Lands Ordinance, why can't our people be given freehold deeds? Through the same ordinance used to hand over lands to investors, lands are being handed over to you. We are collecting another 2 million owners. I say that this must be done at every divisional secretariat as soon as possible. This is a government that did not exist in the country. Those who were able to take responsibility during tough times took it. We discussed how to recover. The Prime Minister and other ministers did it. We are recovering bit by bit. The people suffered, I admit. Even now, some are suffering. We provided relief to the best of our ability. We provided it through Asfasuma. We increased the salaries of state employees. We are still a bankrupt economy and are still coming out of it. We have not recovered completely. Now we are handing over these lands through freehold deeds. If we are doing this much during a tough time, imagine what can be done in another year. If we are to follow this properly, in 4 years, our economic growth will be positive. We can hit 2.5% of growth. In 2025, we can hit 5% and move forward. I ask the others to join us. If we come together more, we can move the country forward. We have gotten together and given 2 million this right. Another 2 million have been provided the Asfasuma welfare benefit. Salaries of 1.5 million were increased. Tourism has been developed and new avenues of income have been created. If we can achieve all this as one faction in Parliament, just imagine what we can achieve if all of us in Parliament unite. We need to follow this path. We cannot be indebted anymore. We cannot be a vagrant nation.
මේක අපිට කණ්ඩායමක් හැටියට කොටසක් හැටියට කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ හිතන්න පාර්ලිමේන්තුව එකතු වුණොත් මොකක්ද අපිට කරන්න බැරි කියලා. අපි ඒ ගමන යන්න ඕනේ. අපි ආපහු ණය වෙන්න බෑ. අපිට ආපහු හිඟන జాතියක් වෙන්න බෑ.
10,000 freehold deeds were handed over during today's inaugural ceremony. The program is expected to cover 14,000 Gramanilidari divisions of the country.
Leader of the Jatika Jana Anurakumara Disanayaka and his delegation, who are on an official visit to India at the invitation of the Indian government, met with India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar.
Following the meeting, Dr. Jaishankar posted a message on X that he was pleased to meet the JJB leader.
A delegation led by leader of the Jatika Jana Anurakumara Disanayaka arrived in New Delhi this morning on a visit. It is reported that the Indian government invited a delegation led by Anurakumara Disanayaka. The delegation includes Secretary of the JJB Dr. Nihala Singhal, MP Vijitha Herath and National Executive Member Professor Anil Jayanta. Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met with Anurakumara Disanayaka and his delegation this morning. The meeting focused on bilateral relations between the two countries and Sri Lanka's current economic challenges. Dr. S. Jaishankar expressed his satisfaction with the discussion on his official X account, highlighting the mutual benefits of further strengthening the India-Sri Lanka relationship. He acknowledged Sri Lanka's economic difficulties and offered support, saying that India, with its neighbourhood first and Sagar policies, will always be a reliable friend and trusted partner of Sri Lanka. Anurakumara Disanayaka told Newsfirst that he had a nearly hour-long discussion with Indian Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. Meanwhile, JJB held separate talks with Ajit Doval, India's National Security Advisor. Their discussion focused on regional security and bilateral relations between Sri Lanka and India.
Transparency International Sri Lanka expressed its outrage on the government's passage of the Online Safety Act despite failing to implement crucial amendments mandated by the Supreme Court.
In a statement, Transparency International Sri Lanka said, quote, "We are appalled by the outrageous conduct of the government, Parliament, Attorney General and the Speaker in signing off on a version of the Online Safety Act that does not contain several of the amendments required by the Supreme Court in its determination on the bill," unquote. The organisation went on to criticise the move as, quote, "a blatant violation of the constitutional safeguard," unquote, provided for citizens to seek the redress of the court against the attempts of the legislature to impose unconstitutional laws. They condemned it as an, quote unquote, "unprecedented abuse of power by the legislature" and demanded immediate corrective action.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa criticized celebrating the 76th Independent Day without allowing the common people of the country to participate.
We have seen the government celebrating independence, the freedom of the rulers, without allowing the common people of the country to participate. What a joke it is to celebrate the 76th Independence Day of the 22 million of this country. Today, the government has passed the Online Safety Act claiming to guarantee the right to information, but in reality, it empowers them to politicize information and control the right to hold individual opinions. How can this be called freedom? Human immunoglobulin, propofol, bupivacaine and prednisolone are being used by ministers to exploit authorities providing people with inferior drugs. How can we speak of freedom? Millions were spent yesterday to celebrate Independence Day, yet billions represent the bad things happening. What good has the 76th Independence Day done to improve our education sector? 10,126 schools out of 41,000 lack basic facilities. Yet, we claim to protect citizens' right to live. Can this be called freedom?
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa made this statement during the 86th phase of the Circular Smart Classroom program. The program aims to provide smart classroom equipment worth 1 million rupees to the Nochiyagama Vidyartha Mahavidyalaya.
The National Civil Organisation Front, a coalition of civil society groups, raised concerns regarding the alleged medicine scandal, calling for the entire cabinet to be held accountable.
Furthermore, the activists launched a public petition demanding the immediate removal of Minister Keheli Rambugwala from his position.
In further developments surrounding the alleged medicine procurement scandal, the National Civil Organisation Front and mass organisations jointly organised a signature campaign today. The programme held in front of the Fort Railway Station in Columbo aimed to garner public support for their demands.
We should not simply consider this an act of corruption, but as genocide. If such a thing happens overseas, the minister facing allegations steps down. However, in Sri Lanka, we have never seen a minister facing corruption allegations resign. This person must step down. Only then will it precedent in Sri Lankan politics. This can be viewed as an instance where the patient's right to live was snatched away from them. Rambukwalla has no moral right to remain in the cabinet. Health issues must be scrutinized with great understanding, as those are vital for the country. If this was simply done in the premise of raising the hand in approval, then the president and the cabinet are accountable. This corruption charge does not apply to Kehele Rambukwalla alone. When a cabinet paper is presented, the cabinet minister must act with understanding. They are accountable to the people. We are concerned with the president and cabinet, who have no accountability, can function on those positions.
The All Ceylon Medical Officers Association expressed their views on the implementation of the law against drug scams.
As the public and trade unions, we have a heavy doubt whether this investigation will be carried out properly. We are aware that there is a huge scam that has taken place and a large portion of public funds have been paid by the government. Substandard drugs were manufactured. We have all the information related to the companies that manufactured them. Patients were given these substandard drugs. They have become victims of this scam. The CID and the Attorney General's Department should take necessary action in order to serve justice over these matters.
Colombo High Court Judge Navaratna Marasinghe today ordered that the case against former Minister and current Member of Parliament A.H.M. Fousy be recalled on the 29th of April for causing losses to the government by using a state-owned vehicle for personal matters.
It is the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption that assigned this case against former Minister and current MP A.H.M. Fousy. They accused him of using a luxury vehicle worth around 20 million rupees donated to the Ministry of Disaster Management by the Netherlands for disaster management purposes and causing a loss of nearly 1 million rupees to the government during the period he served as its minister. When the case was called up today, Shavindra Fernando, the President's counsel who appeared on behalf of accused A.H.M. Fousy, said he made a written request on the 16th of January 2024 to the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption to withdraw the charge sheet against his client. The President's Counsel informed the court that on the 26th of January 2024, the Commission had informed in a response that it had agreed to discuss and consider the request with the Director General of the Commission. The Assistant Director General of the Commission said that she was not aware of such information as provided by the President's Counsel and that she would take the necessary instructions and inform the court of the Commission's position in the upcoming days. The judge also ordered to obtain the fingerprints of A.H.M. Fousy once again and call for the reports.
The Ministry of Justice, Prison Affairs and Constitutional Reforms plans to implement a house arrest program this year for those convicted for civil offences. In a recent event, State Minister Anuradha Jayartne said that the ministry will utilise GPS technology to monitor people placed under house arrest.
This month, we aim to table a proposal in Parliament for a new law implementing a house arrest program for people convicted of civil offences. This initiative necessitates amending several existing laws, including the Bail Act. Our initial focus is on civil offences where house arrest with GPS monitoring could be an alternative to imprisonment under the Department of Prisons. The system incorporates an alarm that would alert the nearest police station in case of violation. Our objective is to launch this program within this year and anticipate a significant reduction in prison overcrowding as a result.
The Public Service United Nurses Union launched a work to rule action today, reporting for duty in informal attire instead of their official uniforms.
The Public Service United Nurses Union launched a work-to-rule action raising their demands for improved support, addressing needs such as uniform allowances and an increase in the current 20,000 rupees stipend. This was the situation at the Columbo National Hospital. These were the scenes witnessed at the Kandy General Hospital.
There is an agreement reached in 2015 with regard to the 20,000 rupee allowance and with regard to the circular on uniforms. There is also an agreement with the Treasury Secretary with regard to the overtime payments. We also discussed the matter of increasing the teaching allowance of nursing lecturers by 10,000 rupees. Therefore, before engaging in trade union action, we decided to report to work in civil attire so that there will be no disruption to treatment services.
The trade union action also took place at the Karapite Teaching Hospital. However, some nurses were seen in uniform. This was the situation at the Kurunegala Teaching Hospital.
Newsfirst with the people.
A submarine of the Indian Navy arrived at the port of Colombo on Saturday on a formal visit. This is against the backdrop where Sri Lanka decided to have a one-year moratorium in allowing foreign vessels to conduct research in the Sea of Sri Lanka.
Foreign media reports suggest that the Indian Navy sent the submarine INS Karanj to Sri Lanka's port of Colombo, conveying a message to Beijing and Malé, even as the Chinese Navy's spy ship Xiangyang Hong 3 continued sailing towards the Maldives. INS Karanj, a submarine of the Indian Navy, arrived at the port of Colombo on Saturday on a formal visit. High Commissioner of India to Sri Lanka Santosh Jha also visited the submarine and interacted with the commanding officer of INS Karanj. The Indian Navy sent the submarine to Colombo, coinciding with the Independence Day of Sri Lanka. This move was apparently aimed at highlighting India's role as the primary security provider in the Indian Ocean region and sending a message to China's People's Liberation Army Navy, which has recently increased its activities in the maritime neighborhood of India. The INS Karanj docked at the Colombo port ahead of the arrival of Chinese PLA Navy's research vessel Xiangyang Hong 3 in Malé. Sri Lanka decided to have a one-year moratorium in allowing foreign vessels to conducting research in the Sea of Sri Lanka. This meant that Chinese scientific research vessel Xiangyang Hong 3, which was scheduled to conduct deep water exploration in the South Indian Ocean from the 5th of January to late May, was denied clearance by Sri Lankan authorities. In response, Beijing has chosen to leverage its friendly relations with Moiso's regime in Malé, opting to use the ports of the Maldives for docking the research vessels of the Chinese PLA Navy. President Mohamed Moiso's government in Malé on the 23rd of January accepted Beijing's diplomatic request to allow the research vessel to dock at the main port of the Maldives, disregarding India's security concerns. The Xiangyang Hong 3 sailed from Sanya port in southern China on the 16th of January, and it is expected to arrive at Malé on the 8th of February. However, en route to its innocuous stop in the Maldives, the Chinese vessel has reportedly carried out what can be termed as research or observations some 200 nautical miles away from the Sea of Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, New Delhi's relations with Malé entered tumultuous waters after Moiso assumed the presidency of the Maldives and began steering the island nation closer to China. This marked a reversal of his predecessor Ibrahim Mohamed Solih's India First policy, which considered India as the preferred development partner of the Maldives.
Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe has appealed to Thailand's Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin for assistance in securing the release of 56 Sri Lankan nationals allegedly held captive by Chinese criminal organizations in Myanmar.
Sri Lankan ambassador to Myanmar Jana confirmed that the request was made during the Thai Prime Minister's visit to Sri Lanka for the nation's Independence Day celebrations on the 4th of February.
56 Sri Lankan youth are being held captive in Myanmar by a non-state armed group and forced to engage in cybercrime. The youths, lured with promises of IT jobs, were reportedly taken to Myanmar and detained in 3 separate locations near the Thai border. Newsfirst is in possession of GPS locations of the 3 sites where the Sri Lankans are being held in Myanmar in Myanmar. One location reportedly houses 8 youths near the Moi River, which located close to the Myanmar town. Another holds 18 individuals near the Thailand border, some 5 kilometers away from the Myanmar site. And the third location allegedly confines 25 youths further inland, some 26 kilometers away from the Myanmar township. Disturbingly, reports suggest that the youths are subjected to severe physical and psychological torture.
Indian තත්ත්වය හරිම දරුණුයි අපිට හැමදාම punishment periods හැදුනත් අපිට මේ මාර විදිහට දුවවනවායි අපි වරණින් අමුතු මේකක් දෙනවා ඒක දුන්නට පස්සේ ගෑනු ළමයිට හිට ගන්නවත් බෑ උස්සගෙන තමයි පිරිමි ළමයි කාමරේට ගෙනිල්ලා දැම්මේ ගෑනු ළමයි 3 දෙනෙකුටයි පිරිමි ළමයි දෙන්නෙකුටයි punishment හම්බුණා ගෑනු ළමයි තනි තනියෙන් ගෙනිච්ච මෙහින් සුපර්වයිසර් ඔක්කොම කාමරේ දාගෙන ගහලා තියෙන්නේ එයාලට දැන් ඇවිදින්නවත් බෑ ඉඳගන්න කිව්වොත් ඉඳ ගන්න ඕනේ හිට ගන්න කිව්වොත් හිට ගන්න ඕනේ අපි කැමති වුණත් නැති වුණත් අපි හැම දෙයකම ඔළුව නමාගෙන ඉන්න ඕනේ ප්ලීස් අපිව ගන්න ඕගොල්ලෝ මේ නිදහස් සම්බලලා වැඩක් නෑ අපි වගේ තරුණ ජීවිත මේ වගේ තැනක හිර වෙලා දුක් විඳිනකොට පිරිමි ළමයි දෙන්නෙක්ට කරන්ට් එක අල්ලලා මේ වෙනකොටත් ඒ දෙන්නා ගොඩක් අමාරුවෙන් ඇඳකට දාලා ඉන්නේ අපිව මෙච්චර දවසක් එළියට දැම්මලා ඒ කියන්නේ කම්පැනියෙන් එළියට යවලා පනිෂ්මන්ට් එක ඒ කියන්නේ ගහලා කරලා ආයි කම්පැනිට ගිහලා වැඩ කෙරුවා දැන් එහෙම නැහැ ගෑල් ළමයි පිරිමි ළමයි කියලා නැහැ කාමරයක් ඇතුළට ගෙනියනවා ඒගොල්ලෝ කාමරය ඇතුළට ගෙනහිල්ලා ඇඳුම් ගලවලා ගහලා කරන්ට් එක අල්ලලා ආපහු එළියට ගෙනල්ලා දානවා අන්න ඒ වගේ සිටුේෂන් එකක් දැන් තියෙන්නේ ගෑල් ළමයි 3 දෙනෙක්ට ඇඳුම් ගලවලා ගහලා තියෙනවා ඒගොල්ලෝ දැන් වචනයක් කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද ඒගොල්ලෝ කාමරය ඇතුළට ගිහිල්ලා පැය භාගයක් විතර ඉඳලා තමයි කාමරෙන් එළියට ආවේ. ඒ 3 දෙනා දැන් අපිත් එක්කවත් වචනයක්වත් හරියට කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ. මොකක්ද උනේ කියන්න තවම හරියට දන්නේ නැහැ. මේක ඔක්කොම අමාරු වෙලා ඉන්නේ. කරන්න දෙයක් ඇත්තෙම නැහැ. පුළුවන් තරම් ඉක්මනට අපිට මෙහෙන් යන්න වෙපන් තියාගත්ත පිරිසක් ඉන්නවා. වෙපන් තියාගත්ත ආමි වගේ ඇඳුම් ඇඳගත්ත පිරිසක් ඉන්නවා. අපි දන්නවා හොඳටම මොනවා හරි වුණොත් අපිට වෙඩි තියලා දානවා.
Newsfirst with the people.
The Consumer Affairs Authority conducted raids to locate traders who do not display the specified weight of a loaf of bread and its price in their stores, according to the Gazette issued recently. The Gazette sets the standard weight of a loaf of bread at 450 grams.
A loaf of bread weighed at 320 grams at some bakeries.
පොඩි ඩිෆරන්ස් එකක් තියෙනවා 12.5 වෙනසක් තියෙනවා. අඩු වැඩි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. 4.5. ඔව්. 450 තමයි තියෙනවා. දැන් මේ පාන් එකක් තියෙනවා පොඩි එකක්. ඒක ලැටරල් තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ භාග පාන් එක. භාගයටත් අර අඩුයි. නෑ දැන් අර ගහලා තියෙන සයිසස් දෙකේ තමයි විකුණන්න ඕනේ. අපිට බැරිද පැක් කරලා අපි නිරයි මේකේ බරයි වේට් එකයි සඳහන් කරන්න නැති. නෑ ගැසට් එකක් ගහලා තියෙනවා.
Raids were conducted in Vaunia today.
We issued 93 orders last week. Loaves must be 450 grams or 225 grams. A slight difference up to 13.05 grams for full loaf, 9 grams for half is allowed due to baking issues. Each shop must have visible licensed scales and display bread prices. Consumers can check the scales, which must be licensed by the Department of Measurement Units, Standards and Services for 2024.
An IMF capacity development mission will be in Sri Lanka to provide technical assistance on fiscal issues. This was confirmed by an IMF spokesperson to Newsfirst today. At the request of the government, the IMF provides technical assistance and training to its member countries on critical economic issues to strengthen capacities of institutions. The spokesperson said this mission is separate from program review missions. In more local news, a complaint was filed to the Jaffna Regional Office of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, alleging that a student of the University of Jaffna was attacked by Vadukkode police officers.
Karunakaran Nidarshan, a second-year medical student at the University of Jaffna, residing in Kottai Wadukode, lodged a complaint with the Jaffna Regional Office of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, claiming he was attacked by police officers in Wadukode. When contacted by Newsfirst, coordinator of the Jaffna Regional Office of HRCSL, T. Kankaraj confirmed receiving the complaint along with a medical statement. He said that further action will be taken based on the medical officer's advice.
As I pulled up to a fuel station to pump gas, an officer yelled at me, asking if I couldn't stop my vehicle when instructed. I had been on my way to campus when he stopped me, so I handed over my documents. He then made a phone call, and around 7 to 8 other officers, not in uniform, proceeded to attack me. I told him that if I had violated any rules, a fine would have been appropriate. Instead, they took me to a room and continued the assault. This incident happened at the Wadukode police station.
The student who was attacked has been admitted to the Jaffna Teaching Hospital for treatment. Wadukode police informed Newsfirst that the student in question did not stop their vehicle when instructed. However, they deny any assault or arrest taking place in connection with the incident.
Newsfirst, main sponsor.
Study in Australia with Edlocate. Visit us on 10 February at the Hotel Galadari.
Day 2 of the Jana rally, a nationwide effort seeking to revitalize Sri Lanka's rich history of water management, unfolded today, continuing its journey from Monoragala.
Water was obtained from the Kumukang Oya that flows across Monoragala on Sunday evening in order to be placed on the special platform of the Jana rally. The water obtaining ceremony was presided over by Venerable Kalavel Aragama Kasapatera, the chief incumbent of the Pokunugala Rajamaha Vihara. Last evening, water was also obtained from the Medagama Dahagonia Vava. The Jana rally commenced its journey on Monday morning from the Monoragala police station. The event was presided over by Venerable Kanda Udapangwe Sugatananda Thera, the chief incumbent of the Tarala Sri Vijayavardhana Pirivena. The HQI of the Monoragala Police, P.S. Sanjeeva, and Monoragala Additional Divisional Secretary Madhushani Karunaratna were also present at the occasion.
Dot Nagawandi Naran Jalayai Ahasata Polovata Saktiya.
Thereafter, the Jana rally reached the Siambalandua town. Water obtained from the Muthukandi reservoir, Pahata Arava Vava, as well as the Sugala Devi Vava, in order to be placed on the special platform of the Jana rally. The Jana rally will proceed to villages and towns across the country in a bid to invoke blessings on the country, her people, and foster unity among communities. Tomorrow, the Jana rally will proceed to Ampara.
At least 112 people have been killed by forest fires in Chile's Valparaiso region.
President of Chile declared a state of emergency and said he would make all necessary resources available to tackle the situation. It is believed to be Chile's deadliest forest fire on record. Many of those affected were visiting the coastal region during the summer holidays. A health alert was put in place in Valparaiso by the Health Ministry.
Yes, 94, we are returning from this area.
The ministry called for the suspension of elective surgeries and authorized temporarily field hospitals to be set up. Rescue services have struggled to reach the most badly affected areas, and Interior Minister said the death toll would quote-unquote reach much higher figures.
The US Central Command said the US has carried out more strikes against Houthi missiles in Yemen yesterday.
According to the US Central Command, US forces struck a land attack cruise missile and 4 anti-ship missiles that quote-unquote were prepared to launch against ships in the Red Sea. The latest action comes a day after joint US-UK strikes on Houthi targets. The UK said these were in self-defense to stop the Houthis' attacks on international shipping in the Red Sea. The Houthis have vowed the strikes will quote-unquote not go unpunished. It follows continued attacks by the Iran-backed group on military and commercial ships in the Red Sea. The US said it is planning more strikes on Iran-linked targets in response to a drone attack in Jordan, which killed 3 US troops more than a week ago. But Iran said the accusations it was involved are quote-unquote baseless. The Islamic resistance in Iraq and Iran-backed militia claimed responsibility.
Sri Lanka claimed their first Test victory of 2024 after securing a convincing 10-wicket win against visitors Afghanistan today.
This encounter was the first Test match between Sri Lanka and Afghanistan and was played at the SSC in Columbo. In reply to Afghanistan's first innings total of 198, Sri Lanka put up a mammoth total of 439 runs. Opener Dimuth Karunaratne scored 77 runs, while Angelo Matthews and Dinesh Chandimal scored 141 and 107 runs each. Ibrahim Zadran scored 114 runs for Afghanistan in the second innings, while Prabhat Jayasuriya and Asita Fernando picked 5 and 3 wickets each for Sri Lanka. Afghanistan managed to post a total of 296 runs in the second innings, setting Sri Lanka a target of 56 for victory. Sri Lanka crossed the finish line at the end of 7.2 overs with a day to spare. Opening pair Dimuth Karunaratne and Nishan Madhushka were unbeaten on 32 and 22 runs respectively. This was the first game of Test cricket played under the captaincy of Dhananjaya De Silva. Prabhat Jayasuriya was adjudged the man of the match.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.